In Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, the Behir is a huge monstrosity of challenge rating 11 with an AC of 17 and 168 hit points. It's described as a massive serpent with a dozen legs that can breathe lightning. It's listed as being native to the Underdark, but it could feasibly exist anywhere where the light is low. It has good stats with the exception of intelligence, and boasts a +6 to perception checks and a +7 to stealth. It's immune to lightning damage and speaks Draconic, and it has dark vision up to 90 feet with a passive perception of 16. On its turn, it can choose to use either a multi-attack, 1 bite and 1 constrict, or its rechargeable lightning breath. The bite has a +10 to hit and deals 3d10 +6 piercing damage, a scale of 9 to 36, and the constrict attack has a +10 to hit and deals 2d10 +6 bludgeoning and 2d10 +6 slashing damage, a scale of 16 to 52 damage overall. If the constrict hits, the player is also grappled and becomes restrained. The lightning attack is a 20-foot long, 5-foot wide line that forces a DC 16 dex save, dealing 12d10 lightning damage on a failure, a scale of 10 to 120, or half as much on a success. It can also swallow a player whole. When a creature is grappled by the Behir, it can make a bite attack against that creature, and if it hits, the player is swallowed. The player is considered blind and restrained, meaning that they cannot use their movement and are considered totally covered from outside attacks and effects, including healing that requires line of sight. The player then takes 66 acid damage at the start of each of the creature's turns, a scale of 6 to 36. If the Behir is dealt at least 30 damage in a single turn by the creature inside it, it must make a DC 14 con save or else puke the player out. With a con of +4, it only needs to roll a 10 or higher to avoid this. If it dies with someone in its stomach, they are no longer restrained, and they can use 15 feet of their movement to remove themselves from the creature, exiting prone. To start combat, I would have the Behir lying in wait for attackers. The reasoning for this is that it has a +7 to stealth and typically lives in dark areas, indicating that it's likely meant to be a stalking predator. I would have it open combat with a lightning breath attack regardless of if it's seen or not, aiming for a line in which it can hit the most players. On the first turn after this, I would have it slither up to whoever has dealt it the most damage or is preventing it from getting to other players and do a multi-attack. The multi-attack of the Behir should always be a constrict followed by a bite, as if it manages to constrict a player, it gains advantage on the bite attack. If the player is constricted on its next turn, I would have the Behir swallow that player, making a bite attack with advantage to do so. If the creature is swallowed, the strategy for players and the Behir changes. When the Behir doesn't have a creature in its belly, it should be trying to eat a player at all times. This not only makes sense for its animalistic nature, it's also a way to lower the amount of creatures it has to fight at one time, and deals massive damage. When the Behir does have a creature in its belly, its strategy should be to multi-attack creatures with the constrict and bite combo every turn. Even if the lightning breath has recharged, it has limited functionality. On a single target, it'll deal an average of 50 damage, while a bite plus a constrict deals an average of 56 damage or more. The only time I would use the lightning breath after the initiation of combat would be if you have 2 or more players foolishly bunched up in a line, or if there's a player 20 feet away that the Behir cannot reach who's being a major nuisance. I'm looking at you, sorcerers and wizards. The Behir comes to us from Scottish folklore. In Scots Gaelic, the word Behir has been translated loosely as serpent, lightning, or thunderbolt, and is related to the words Behir niv, meaning venomous snake, or Nahir, meaning snake or adder. It's described in folklore as the largest of all serpents, or as a dragon that lacks wings or fire breath. It has a venomous bite, and legends say that any who are bitten by it must race the creature to the nearest loch. If they win, they are cured, but if they lose, they are doomed to die and be consumed. The Behir is one of the Fua, fey creatures that are associated with bodies of water. It is said that if a snake is ever killed by a human, their head must be separated from the body and taken far away. Otherwise, the body will elongate and reattach, becoming a Behir. The association with lightning comes from myths out of Argyll, in which lightning storms on summer nights are stated to be the Behir's favorite type of weather. In comparing the creature to the myth, we find that the description remains the same. Both are serpents with multiple legs and have associations with water and lightning. However, in lieu of a venomous sting or bite, the Behir in D&D has lightning breath, likely to pay homage to the myth's lightning aspect, as well as to make it more distinct from other similar creatures. In myth, the Behir is a fey creature, whereas D&D drops this relation to fairies and the fey realm entirely, electing to make it a standard monstrosity that lurks in the natural world. If you enjoyed that video, consider giving it a like and giving me a follow. And for more of my videos, you can find me on Twitch @Moglaroo, YouTube @Moglaroo Streams, and TikTok @Moglaroo Streams as well.